Oh boy, my favorite show. Boring. We need to be mad. We need to be angry. We're thinking too much around here, guys. How dare you? That is so cool. That is so fun. Oh my god, dude. That's so big, dude. We gotta have a better ground game to overpower the corporate media structure and the propaganda. I'm right on the polling. I'm right on that. That's undisputed in my mind. That's undisputed in my mind. Politics is more complicated than that. Waging political capital in an effective way. Boring. Politics is more complicated than that. That is so cool. That is so fun. Oh boy, my favorite show. Boring. We need to be mad. We need to be angry. We're thinking too much around here, guys. How dare you? That is so cool. That is so fun. Oh my god, dude. That's so big, dude. We gotta have a better ground game to overpower the corporate media structure and the propaganda. I'm right on the polling. I'm right on that. That's undisputed in my mind. Hello. I got new running shoes. Look. Are they beautiful? Look at that. So fancy. Very plush. Very fast. Very comfortable. Look at that. Beautiful. Wow. You know what brand this is? Saucony. One second. Mind. That's undisputed in my mind. Politics is more complicated than that. Waging political capital in an effective way. Yeah, I'm gonna buy non-forced labor shoes. Boring. Politics is more. If you really go down to it, isn't like some part of everything made by forced labor? Complicated than that. That is so cool. That is so fun. Oh boy, my favorite show. Boring. We need to be mad. We need to be angry. We're thinking too much around here, guys. Okay. How dare you? Fun Nina Turner video. Okay. Beautiful. What about Nina Turner? I don't know. What about Nina Turner? Okay. Let me get these tabs in order so I can make the Nina Turner video. I hate recording videos. It just isn't fun. Like segments, whatever. For me, at least. I don't like it. I'm just not good at it. I'd be able to do a new show, like, if I had a pre-written script. but it's hard. I don't know how people talk for like an hour to nobody or to like a chat or whatever. It's pretty difficult. Let me cough quick. Like I don't know how people do it. They just get on here and start talking. They say, "Oh, that's a segment. Put this on the YouTube channel. This is gonna be it." So some Nina Turner fans may have an issue with what I say in this video. I consider myself a big fan of Nina Turner. I want Nina Turner to be in Congress. At this time, when like in a year or two, whenever the elections are in 2022, the end of 2022, whatever, I want her to win. I think we need more progressives that will challenge the current status quo. We need more progressives in office in general. And I am a progressive, and I'm also a pragmatist. And I have an issue with how many progressives work within politics. I think Bernie Sanders and AOC are two people who walk the line between pragmatism and idealism. So they push for big policies like the Green New Deal. They are pretty combative towards the leaders and the status quo in the Democratic Party. They push things to move in a more progressive direction, but they don't do it in a way that's dumb. AOC and Bernie Sanders, they get criticized from the left, the online left sometimes, for not being aggressive enough against the Democratic establishment. So, for example, AOC will go on The View and call Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear. Does AOC want to call Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear? Does AOC like Nancy Pelosi? Probably not. I would say definitely not. She doesn't want to call Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear, but she does do it because she understands in order to get progress done, you need consent from people within a representative democracy. And when you're in a democracy, people like Nancy Pelosi, they are very popular. Joe Biden is somebody who is very popular. Bernie Sanders really was aggressive towards Joe Biden during the primary. Bernie Sanders is really aggressive towards the Democratic Party in general during elections. But after elections, he turns into a pragmatist. So although Bernie Sanders was really angry at like Joe Biden, after the election, he said, "You know what, Joe? You win. Bernie Sanders is one of the most popular politicians in America. He doesn't want to throw away that political capital. So after elections, he says, you know what, Joe, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to work with you to get policies done for the American people." So AOC and Bernie Sanders understand you need to be popular. You need to have consent from the public in order to get things done. You can't literally just say, "I hate you, Nancy Pelosi. You're corrupt. I hate you, Joe Biden. You're corrupt. I hate all of the people who are leading this party. You are all corrupt." It doesn't work. People like Pelosi. People like Biden. The voters AOC and Bernie Sanders can't get are the voters that do support those two people. And right now, Nina Turner, she's having an issue because during this general election, by the way, Democrats really don't like Donald Trump. Democrats like Joe Biden. Democrats really did not want Donald Trump to beat Joe Biden. When Nina Turner said that what did she say exactly? That Donald Trump is like eating a full plate of shit and Joe Biden is like eating a half plate of it. She said that. So she said Joe Biden is still shit, but he's better than Trump. Dude, that's not going to work with the Democratic voter base. And it's not even true. Historically, Joe Biden, if you are being realistic, if you are being honest with yourselves, Joe Biden is getting a lot done as president compared to presidents throughout U.S. history, other than presidents that had like complete unilateral power. Like if you look at LBJ's consent, because Democrats own the entire government, or FDR used a lot of unilateral means to get things like the New Deal done. He acted more as an authoritarian leader. He did great things. He was a great leader. I think he was a really good president, but he didn't have to go through what is currently happening today. All the bricks to progress, or all the walls to progress that's happening today. So even Nina Turner calling Joe Biden a half plate of shit, isn't realistic. It's not right. And Nina Turner right now is getting kind of roasted for it, and the numbers are shifting away from her in this current primary. Like it or not, you can hate Joe Biden, you can hate Pelosi, you can hate every Democratic leader. That isn't what matters. It doesn't matter who you hate. What matters is having the political power necessary to help people. If you can't help people, you are not helping anyone. You're not helping anyone. So if you being self-righteous and calling Biden an evil, corrupt war criminal who is basically a half plate of shit, even if that makes you feel good, it might hurt your ability down the line to impact a real change. And like I said before, many voters do like Biden and Pelosi, so it's going to hurt like Nina Turner. And the numbers are shifting away from her.
That's different than Nina Turner.
You've been highly critical of President-elect Joe Biden.
I'm Chantel Brown. I'll work with Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Just the idea of being able to work with Joe Biden is such a big thing for voters. And I hope Nina Turner wins the election, but it is such a big thing. A lot of Democrats literally just want to know that you're going to be cool, that you're going to be working with Biden. They like Biden. He's an old man that seems a little bit like, he's not, he eats ice cream, whatever. He's a nice old man. A lot of voters aren't really these revolutionary socialists in the street that are waiting for, I don't know, class warfare to happen on the streets where the poor take over Democrats are not, the normal Democratic voter isn't thinking that. You need to win a lot of suburban voters. You need to win a lot of voters who are not going to be like hardcore working class people. In fact, a lot of working class voters voted for Joe Biden. If you look at the white working class, sure, they voted for Bernie over Joe Biden. But if you look at the actual whole working class, including people who are not white, they actually went Biden. So the working class was split half and half between Bernie and Biden in the primary. So you can't look at things through this weird lens where everything is evil and corrupt. And in 2012, here's Nina Turner talking to VP Joe Biden. Now, you can say in the past 9 years, maybe Nina Turner got fed up with a lack of progress. Maybe, I don't know. But even the stuff she criticized Joe Biden for was, oh yeah, sure, Hans. But even the stuff that Joe Biden did before 2012, she criticized him for that. Like, why wasn't this an issue in this picture? Unless if Nina Turner, like I said, she got mad and decided to take a different turn. But yeah, it's just bad politics. It's bad overall politics, dude. I'm not saying take corporate money. I'm not saying switch your policies. I'm saying we need to advocate for things in a smarter way, in a better way, in a more effective way. That lets us win elections. And when we do win elections, you don't want Nina Turner. We do not want a progressive like Nina Turner to get in there and not be able to work with anybody, to be hard to work with. Washington connections, media connections, although they 99% of the time, if you have strong connections in those fields, you're not going to be the perfect representation of the people. Like a good middle ground here would be like AOC. AOC is so overwhelmingly popular across different generations that the media has no choice but to treat her nice. You need to have those friends in a sense. When you don't have big money on your side, you need to be able to work within what you do have the ability to work within. Yeah, but Nina Turner's lead dropped from 35 to 7. This is expected in political polling. When you have a really popular candidate that has a lot of popular support, and by popular support, I don't mean the term popular support. I mean like Bernie Sanders, AOC, they endorsed Nina Turner off the bat. She got there on the ground off the bat talking to voters. So her numbers were always going to be inflated early. Yeah, but now they're crashing back down to where they should be, which is like a 5-10 point lead. And now it's going to be neck and neck going into the actual election. And you can blame some of this, if you want, on a concentrated effort from the establishment of the Democratic Party to block Nina Turner out. Sure, that's in their political interests. You can say there's corporate money pouring into the opposing campaign. We know that's going to be an issue. If you aren't going to take corporate donations, then the other person probably is going to take corporate donations. They might have more money than you. You need to focus on that ground game. You need to connect to voters. But again, you can't connect to voters who love Joe Biden if you were busy 6 months ago calling Joe Biden a bowl of shit. That's not how you connect to Joe Biden voters. It's just not how you do that. Even take money out of the equation. Take all of this out of the equation. And I do look at the impact of money in politics. I do feel we need to get money out of politics in any capacity that we can. The playing field is unbalanced. Union representation when it comes to who actually is lobbying politicians isn't there. They're outweighed by big money. Of course, we know Joe Manchin is taking a lot of big Republican fundraisers right now as he's refusing to do anything about the filibuster. So that's a big issue. But dude, you can't make excuses for bad campaigning and bad politics too, because if you already have so much against you, you don't want to fail. You don't want to mess up on the fundamentals of, the politics, and that's what I feel Nina Turner has done a little bit. Cleveland clergy, interesting, but just think about it. Like I said before, Pelosi, Biden, Clinton, these are people who you assume would not be popular with anybody. But when you get to a Democratic primary, when you get into this place where you aren't competing against a Republican, you need to get the demographic voters that are going to be in this party. A lot of Democratic voters are going to be more suburban types, MSNBC, CNN types. They aren't going to be receptive to the whole revolution. We need a revolution right now, a political revolution. They aren't. They just won't vote for that. They don't want to vote for that. They don't feel the urgency. They don't have the same drive to do that. And when you have another person competing against you who is filling out identity roles as well, that does matter to Democratic voters, black women. Maybe if it was like a white man running against Nina Turner, Democratic voters would be more likely to not vote for that white man because, straight white man, why would you vote for that? If you're a Democratic voter, you want representation. But then you have to fix this solution here. You have to find a solution here for what Nina Turner's facing, which is, okay, well, this candidate that is running against Nina Turner has money, has Washington connections, has media connections, is friendly with Joe Biden. She is talking about working with the current president. Yeah, that is an important thing to be telling your voters. You can work with the president. You don't want to give them the idea that you can't work with the current executive in office. Johans, where are you at? Yeah, if there's more progressives in Congress. Oh, what's up, Sarah? But yeah, if there's more progressives in Congress for everything, that'd make things a lot easier. Because there is strength in numbers. You're here. Do you want to chat now about this? But yeah, we just need to be smarter. If we really care about the issues we are fighting for, we need to stop crying about the current world not being competitive in a correct way. It's not a meritocracy. The best candidates are probably not going to win all of the time. People like Bernie Sanders, they are an anomaly. They are people that we are very lucky to even know about. Yeah, we can't count on that. We need to start being a little bit smarter. I think somebody like Ro Khanna is really good at this. Katie Porter is really good at this. I know some progressives that were like big Bernie supporters don't like Elizabeth Warren. I think Elizabeth Warren is good at attracting like moderate, like soccer, wine, dad, mom voters. So like we need more people who are going to be able to do that. That's how you win, moderate districts and stuff like that, suburbs. We still don't know how to win rural America, but we're trying out here. Oh, there's Hans. What's up, Icy Roo? Fate, Brian. Nina Turner is still well liked and respected there. That comment becomes less and less effective as the country gets worse in COVID cases, inequality, and no results from the party. But Democratic voters don't see it as no results from the party. They're pretty happy right now. Oh, here. Yo, what's up, Hans?
Hey, buddy. Sorry about that. I am here. I hear you're giving everyone the riot act about Nina Turner's past choices and statements impacting your future decisions.
Yeah, what's your take on it?
It just, I think this is a really good example as to what plays well in online politics is actually extremely toxic in IRL politics. Because I'm really sorry this happens at work. This happens in like every aspect of life. If you're constantly shit talking other people, doesn't matter if you're right, doesn't like they will not like you and they will do whatever they can to stop you. A lot of politics is extremely personal, whether it's like national, whether it's local, whether it's like no matter what level it is, your relationships with people is extremely important. And that's why it's like there's this he's a bit of a conservative chud, but I still like him. His name's uh he's the huge Jocko Willink, right? He's like that super aggro like bootstraps marine former guy, and he just constantly talks about like hustling and like playing the game at work and like being nice to everybody and like building connections. And a lot of people don't want to do that, but I think that's extremely key in actual success in politics because it doesn't matter how right you are, right? It doesn't matter like because there's a million sorry that's just too many because like the online left isn't that big. There's thousands of people who have our exact same positions or have like say Bernie Sanders exact same positions and they're not Bernie Sanders, right? And a lot of that is just being able to play the game and work with people. Oh my god, it's not just relationships fate win, but if you think you can be a straight asshole to every single person that you've ever met and then like hope that everyone still supports you, I'm sorry, buddy, you have another fucking thing coming. So many things are political, whether it's like you just trying to make yourself like the head of like a club at a university or like the head of like a schoolyard like sports team. All of those things are political. It's about personalities. And a lot of people don't like talking about that because that's what feels like touchy-feely stuff. Everyone's like, I just want to talk about policy and healthcare. And like, you're right. Those things are super important. Those can inspire people. But your personal brand is also extremely important. Everyone has a brand. Bernie Sanders, the grumpy old man who tells it like this, that is a brand. Same thing as Joe, as the straight talking old man grandpa who likes ice cream. Like, okay, like all those things are important. So, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
Sorry.
very difficult. It's a really hard thing to get your head wrapped around because if I, for example, know that a politician did something really bad, a local politician, I probably should not go on Facebook and call that person an idiot. I'd actually be very hurt to do so. My ability to advocate for my issue is hurt by doing that. Because not only am I ruining like connections within politics, but also people who support that person is gonna look. They're gonna look at me and say, "Wow, look at that idiot, calling my favorite politician a dumb, corrupt asshole." Like Joe Biden has major drink a beer with energy, and drink a beer with energy matters a lot more to getting elected than being a huge revolutionary fighter that's going to be fighting for working class issues. You need to do that too, and that is that's politics we do advocate for. But you need a combination. The suburban voters that are voting Democrat, they want to know or they want to feel. They want to feel like the person they're voting for is a good person who is chill, laid back, and also, we can work together to solve problems. They don't see like a big doomer world that needs to be solved by a class revolution right now. That makes them very uncomfortable, matter of fact. So people like Pelosi and Biden and these more entry level politicians, I guess you can call them, are a lot more are going to be able to acclimate to them a lot better.
True. And it's just like, and like Fate, I know like you're angry about this, right? But here's the thing. Do not give people reasons to dislike you. If you have political enemies, they will, yes, pull out all the stops to take you down. But if you're nice, if you're agreeable, it's more difficult. That's why it's so much harder to pin negative stuff on AOC than Bernie Sanders or Nina Turner, despite the fact that their policies are essentially the absolute same. And a lot of that is explicitly because of her branding and her corrigibility with like everyone around her. It is a huge benefit. Like, and if two people agree with like have all the same like positions and one is a piece of shit asshole to everybody around them and the other one is not, guess who people are going to gravitate towards? Like Barack Obama won the 2008 primary by like almost a sheer charisma alone.
Oh my
Like,
goodness. Yeah, of course. Yeah. He was such a good a great speaker. I mean, he can seduce anybody to give him political consent to do things because he just spoke so well. And I look at people like AOC like you said, and even she gets ridiculed by a lot of like older Democrats and suburban Democrats for being too aggressive, but she made herself so popular. She made herself such a likable figure. And this is where I think the word fight really gets in the way because fight carries the connotation with it that you're being aggressive, that you are demanding change right now. But if you really want to effectively fight evil forces in politics, you have to beat them at the game. We are playing chess in politics. We are not going to the schoolyard and having a fist fight. This is very complex and needs to be done with surgical precision if you want to get stuff done.
absolutely true. It's just it's I think it's something that we all need to, if we want the left and but in particular the online left to be like more effective, is we have to understand it's more than just being right. It's about how you're right and how you sell yourself to other people. Because again, like you talked about this a million times. Like Bernie didn't get a lot done in Washington for 30 years. And now he's making serious plays and shaping policy because of his relationships with Biden now. And those kind of things get so much more done than someone who will say like attack Biden over everything because like it doesn't matter how much you hate this person. It's his administration that's going to control the consensus right now. I think we've kind of realized that we're only going to be able to go as far as Joe Biden is willing to go in this administration. We've had some progressive pushback, right? We're getting like the potentials of a second reconciliation bill because progressives were unsatisfied with the infrastructure bipartisan thing. But that's like the limits of our capacity during this. It's extremely, extremely important. So it
Um,
just
Veronica, so okay, so she is upset with you. Not all of us want people who are nice. Now, the thing is, not all of us want people who are nice. I'm sure we all want fighters who are going to go up there and call everybody, stick it to the man. But what we're talking about is basically like if you are a politician, Bernie Sanders had a big cap during his run. He couldn't get more older voters and suburban voters and non-white voters. He just couldn't do it. He had the most expansive, he had the best outreach program to get younger voters out to vote in history, and that didn't work. He capped out at around 35% of the vote. Even when everybody dropped out, he couldn't get any more than like 35%, 40% in his best states. So Bernie Sanders, even with all the momentum, even with the biggest organization, the organizing thing they had set up, the biggest organizing volunteer force of all time, the best grassroots organization ever, whatever. Even with that, even with all the donations, even with everything, he couldn't get consent from the Democratic Party. And if we blame everything on money in politics and corporations, although we need to 100% keep on talking about their influence and how much they do swing things in politics, if we blame everything on that, I think we're missing out on a lot of opportunities to improve the way we campaign. Because I talk to these voters, and a lot of them, I talk to one on Twitter a lot too, who sees my tweets, and they're like, you know what, AOC is such a brat sometimes. She's demanding too much from Joe Biden. Let it happen. It's only been 5 months. I want to vote for people like her, but she seems like a child who doesn't understand politics. And a lot of Democratic voters do feel like that. And there isn't like a revolutionary working class uprising happening anytime soon. A lot of the working class is a lot of white working class voters who are going to vote Republican no matter what. So we need to be able to win the game we are playing currently, which is we need consent from the Democratic Party. Progressives need to become the new leaders of the Democratic Party. As Nancy Pelosi leaves, AOC needs to fill in that vacuum, not like a Pete Buttigieg type. And that's the fight AOC is waging right now. That's why AOC isn't going too far in the abrasive direction. She's playing, push Joe Biden left, push the Democratic Party left, while also getting Democratic voters and getting Democratic voters to favor her as that transition happens. I think we spoke about this before, Hans. Like that transition that AOC is trying to make. Like I bring it up all the time when she said Nancy Pelosi's like her mama bear when she was on The View. I'm like, dude, she's not saying that because she likes Nancy Pelosi. She is only saying that because Nancy Pelosi's voters. We need her voters. We don't give a shit about what we say about politicians. We need voters that like those politicians.
Yep. It's just because I guess my question for like all the people like molding in chat, I see you, I hear you. I'm sorry.
Wait, the person that's
It
beating Nina Turner is a black woman. She is saying she's going to work with Joe Biden. It's not about being nicer. It's about not being dumb with your political messaging. Because literally, Nina Turner said Joe Biden is like a plate of shit. You're not going to get Democrats who voted for Joe Biden to vote for you if you call Joe Biden a plate of shit. That's not how politics works. We need to get voters on our side. We need to be popular in a sense. The other person isn't being nicer. She is working within the party. She's working with the current president, which is sort of a big thing if you're going to be legislating in government.
it's like I guess my question, right, is what's your
It is about being a
I,
centrist, though. No.
it's like how is your strategy going to work out, right? It seems like Bernie had a ceiling. It seems like Bernie, like, because I'm sorry, young people, if we're all socialists, right, there's either not enough of us or enough of us don't seem to give a shit. Like, I'm really sorry, right? Like, I feel like every lefty feels like we have, like, every person in America is either already a socialist or they're like a secret socialist and they just don't know it yet. And that's not how it works, apparently, because Bernie has had 2 election cycles calling himself a socialist. And yeah, we have more socialists in America now, but is it enough to win? No. So it's like, like, if your thing is just like, oh, if we can just keep telling it like it is, and like that'll eventually like make everyone like us, okay, like, I hope we have enough time for that. And the other thing is, if you're saying that, oh, money in politics is so powerful, the corporate media is so powerful, that like it's a lost cause to try and play the game, then I'm sorry, we've already fucking lost, right? You gotta understand that.
We're
If
not.
you're
Yeah, we're not asking for progressives to be centrist. We're talking about progressives advocating for our policies in a better way. Like, although there is PAC money driving a lot of advertisements down people's throats, you have to also look at the content of those advertisements. And the one thing they're using that is working very effectively, because negative advertising is what works. People respond to negative advertising. That's why so much money is spent on negative advertising. We talk about this in political science all the time. It's not spent on positive stuff about your candidate. It's more going to be knocking down the other person because it works better. They're advertising how Nina Turner called Joe Biden a bowl of shit. Like, that's what they're showing to voters, and voters are seeing that, and they're thinking, wait a second, Nina Turner doesn't want to work with Joe Biden. Why is she even running if she doesn't like Joe Biden? Wait, Nina Turner wanted Trump to win over? I know she didn't want Trump to win over Biden, but they get that impression from the advertisements, from Nina Turner's own words. If I saw Nina Turner, like, imagine if it was the other way around, and a Democratic voter said like Bernie Sanders is like a half plate of shit and Donald Trump is a full plate of shit. Bernie voters would not see that as a stamp of approval for Bernie Sanders. And I did, and I've seen this firsthand. But we're not like I feel like you're really strawmanning our arguments in chat.
Well, why don't you all just be centrist? That's totally what we mean. No, you can have the same positions, but how you say them fucking matters. You can't go like full bore, I hate everybody, everyone sucks, I'm gonna go tell it like it is, and I'm going to single-handedly get Medicare for all. That is not how the world works.
America is
It's
an
like,
evil country. We can never be redeemed from our evil. It's just, although that may be true, like even if things are true, everything that is true doesn't need to be said in the most abrasive way possible. For example, I talk about this a lot too with messaging. Like, Fate said, and by the way, Fate is a huge Mike from PA fan. So whenever we agree on something, that's a pretty big deal, right? So ACAB and defund the police, not good optics. I would never ever say that, and I don't even agree with those two things at all. But I wouldn't say that. And there's so many other things that we could just say in a way that's more convincing, that isn't as bad. Like white privilege, you can say that being white in America is easier than being black relatively to like the same standing. If you're literally like a white person and you turn black in a second, like you would literally like face things that a white person doesn't face. You can say that without saying to white people that they have inherent privilege. That messaging is bad. So we should fix a lot of the messaging from academia. I think a lot of the messaging for even like critical race theory makes it a lot harder to defend it because of the way that some people, like that one D'Angelo. What's her first name? Is it Robin D'Angelo?
Yeah, Robin D'Angelo.
I cannot stand her because she is an optics nightmare. She hurts our cause immensely. I think she is a very greedy person who is really, just really hurting us. But
Rude. It's just like I'm just asking for a crumb of I'm really sorry, but being right isn't enough. We've demonstrated that on multiple occasions. We need something more than that. I'm not saying be wrong, but be nice. I'm saying just have a bit more tact and strategy in terms of building up your like reserves, building up your base. And yeah, is it a problem that we've like trained all the quote anti-establishment lefties to be as like hostile as possible to the party that they're trying to overtake? Absolutely. That is a horrible messaging. It gets clicks, it gets likes because angry people watch more content. But has it been like a disaster in terms of strategy? Yeah.
Yeah, we want to be the new Democratic Party. We don't want to do like we aren't looking to be a, I don't know, the
People's
unrealistic
Party.
idea. Yeah, the idea that we're going to tell people to ditch the Democratic Party isn't the goal. And I do agree with Kyle Kulinski's original intent when he not made, I made videos debunking this, but when he signal boosted the Justice Democrats. I agreed with their goal of taking over the Democratic Party. The part I did not agree with because it doesn't work is hostile. When he says they need to be a Tea Party on the left, the Tea Party, their issues that they advocated for aligned with elite interests. They aligned with capital interests, lower tax. Like this is all stuff that rich, powerful people already agreed with. So they had money backing them too. They were funded by the Koch brothers. They had billions of dollars behind, or whatever number of dollars behind them. Progressives is a totally different ballgame. I agree with the idea that we need to take over the Democratic Party, but I disagree with what fight means because in my mind, winning a fight takes discipline. It takes knowing when to swing and when to be able to sit back and not say something that is going to be that'll be detrimental for your future. If I wanted to say the truth, the absolute truth to literally everybody, my life would be hell. If I said to every person that I go to school with, "Hey, you are privileged. You went to a high school that costed $100,000 a year, and now you're guaranteed a multi-million-dollar job out of college. You are worthless. You didn't work for it. You are actually sucking life out of this country because you got all of your money from inheritance." If I said that about like people that I know, I would lose out on so many opportunities to help other people. Because who's going to be giving me a job? It's probably going to be somebody who came from a rich family. So if I say all rich people are evil, a rich person might not want to give me an opportunity to work on a political campaign or work for an organization or be in a position where I can actually help people. Or if I say to a rich person that makes a couple $1 million a year, I want to raise your taxes so I can fund healthcare for this entire country, universal healthcare. If I say to them, have a more patriotic stance, pay back into this country because you love this country and you want to give other people the opportunities you had. Be patriotic about it. Give money into this system so everybody can have healthcare. If I say that, that'll be a lot easier to get through than if I say all rich people are corrupt, evil winners of capitalism who have caused mass death. Give us your money now to fund healthcare, or we will have a revolution. Like one of those messages is a lot easier to actually get done.
All right, buddy.
Have fun with your D&D.
Don Jones and Drogon. Sorry for leaving your chat all spicy.
It's
good
fun.
to see you streaming again. Yeah,
I know it's been a couple weeks.
Hope you've been doing
Thanks.
good.
Thanks, man. Have a fun night.
I am ready. I'll have the most fun. All right. Good night, man.
Perfect. All right, good night, man. Ugh. Not every fight is a slugfest. Oh, my neck is cracking like crazy. Oh my goodness. I hate my neck issues. It feels terrible. Through conversations like these, you can see the maturation of my political thought. Because I came into the game in 2016 very idealistic. I essentially grew up with a weird upbringing. I found a meme of myself from 2013 or whatever year, making fun of the Baltimore protests. It was a meme with SpongeBob and Patrick, and it was when they burnt the city down, and they were like, "Hey, look, we saved the city." The city was burning down, and I was making fun of BLM protesters. Because I grew up, dude, I'm in a 99% white area where everybody is. It went 70% to Trump. Everybody is far right. like literally everybody here says the N-word um all the time. It's like the old people watching NBA games. Are you kidding me? So I came from that, and I always cared about people though. But then like Bernie Sanders 2016 woke a lot of people up. After Bernie Sanders, you get really emotional about politics. You watch Jimmy Dore, Kyle Kulinski. After watching them, I got this idea that politics was about the absolute moral whatever. You have to fight for owning your principles. You have to speak truth to power no matter what. You have to just yell and be mad. I wasn't gonna vote for Joe Biden as of January 2020. I was not going to. But as I matured and I spoke to older activists who have been in politics for a long time, when I spoke to people who actually work in politics, like 70, 80-year-olds, after I spoke to them, after I read theory, if you ever want to read really good socialist theory, and I'm not a socialist, but I found this guy in 2020 during the pandemic that made me completely move to pragmatism. And this is a really complex guy, so don't look into him if you aren't really ready to absorb high-level ideas that might totally change your worldview. But this guy's name was Vosh, and I learned so much from him. Now I'm here, a genius. I know nothing wrong. Every position I hold is correct. After I read Vosh. Feels good to be enlightened. Wow. So happy. Okay. What else do I need to make a video about? I don't even know. Let me look. Does anybody have any ideas? What do we do in online politics? Steven Crowder, critical race theory. Ooh, critical race theory. Texas. Oh my god. Okay, Texas race. Didn't the KKK thing come out today? Texas, bringing back the KKK. Let's go. Let's go. Shout out to Yexus. Love it. The only theory I read is Vosh. I'm sorry. Okay. The world needs Nina. I agree. I hope she wins. Bye, viewers. We're done talking about Nina Turner. You can leave now. Goodbye. Have a nice night. Bye. Bye. Have a good one. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Yes. Have a good night. Hope to see you again sometime. Thank you. Have a good one. Yes. Great. Good night. Oh, look. A Tinder note. Okay. Yeah, he's the primary source. I don't know why I would read Karl Marx and all those other people if I can just read the primary source where they got all their stuff from. Yeah. So critical race theory is something only like less than 5% of people understand, but apparently the entire Republican Party thinks it's necessary to become like a police state over it. They want to ban all teaching of race in general from schools. So critical race theory sounds scary, and that's what they're using as their vehicle to enact policies like this. Well, not policies, but they're basically erasing history. So it's really funny, actually. They're erasing things about like the KKK, about MLK, about the history of white supremacy in general, the history of Native Americans. These used to be required by curriculum in the state of Texas. Now they are no longer required because the reforms they're passing as they try to ban critical race theory, something only taught in college from public institutions. So they're just like banning all the stuff about racism in general. Racism, just forget about it. It's funny. Confederate statues. People said, hey, maybe we should not have the equivalent to American Nazis as statues anymore in modern America. There's streets named after Confederate generals. It's kind of weird to do that, especially when you have a lot of black people living around these statues in the South. So we want to take down these statues. When we said that, and I don't really care that much about it, honestly. But when we said that, guess who showed up to defend the Confederate statues? Guess who showed up at Charlottesville? It's really funny who showed up at Charlottesville. Literal neo-Nazis and white supremacists wielding tiki torches. Just remember that. Whenever somebody brings up Confederate statues being about history, say, hey, how about we take these statues and put them in museums? Put them in museums. And, bring up how when we try to take down these Confederate statues, the ones that the people that come to defend these statues happen to be KKK members and neo-Nazis. Literally, it's a funny coincidence. It's funny how things work. Yeah, it's crazy. Really, I never would have thought that. And the people who stormed the Capitol, they also were wearing swastikas and Confederate flags. Crazy. I don't know. What is so synonymous with why are swastikas and Confederate flags worn by the same people? And why do they all hold tiki torches? And why do these same people all vote they all vote for Trump? The correlation makes no sense to me, honestly. But anyway, critical race theory, the fear around that is what they're using to erase all teaching about race in high schools and everything. You can't bring up any disproportionate power structures. You can't bring up how race influences society today. They don't understand critical race theory, but they do know it's scary. So they're going to use it as justification for all of this. Now, this is really bad, especially considering race education was already lacking very much in high schools. I know they say education is left-leaning for our high schools, but that simply isn't true by any metric. It's very right-leaning, very far right-leaning. If you poll high school seniors, less than 1 out of 3 high school seniors know the Civil War was fought over slavery. Many think it was fought over slave rights, or over slave rights. No, states' rights. Oh my goodness, they don't know it was fought over slave rights. Slave rights. They wanted slave rights. The South wanted the right to own slaves. The North did not. The Confederacy broke away from America to fight America because they wanted to own black people. But yeah, high school seniors don't know that. High schoolers don't know that in general. Civics education is pretty bad. When I took civics, the political spectrum they taught me about had anarchism on the far right, and it had fascism on the far left. Very interesting placement. As we know, fascism is a far right ideology, and anarchism is far left. But the political spectrum they taught me in high school, in rural Pennsylvania, was, the left means more government, more authoritarianism, and right means less government. So therefore, right-wing anarchism, left-wing fascism, because more government, less government. Really funny. But political education is really bad in America, and it's really depressing, huh? Really fun. It makes you wonder why people vote how they vote, and why certain concepts don't come across to certain people. So if I bring up racism in America to a Republican in, I don't know, any state, their understanding of race in America is basically, black people used to be slaves. That was so long ago. MLK, oh boy, he told us all to get along. He didn't see color. We should all hold hands. Wow, racism is over. They made racism illegal. Many Republicans literally believe this. They literally believe the Confederacy was not fought over, the Civil War was not fought over slavery. They literally believe this. So if you come up to a Republican, you talk to them about racism, the reason they might have such an adverse reaction to what you're saying is because they literally have no understanding of it. The only concept of race they have is interpersonal. They might say, oh, I don't say the N-word. I don't call them that anymore. So how can I be racist? They don't even have any concept of what any of this means. So when we're talking to people, they might get scared because they watch like Tucker Carlson, who tells them white people are being replaced. Their culture is being replaced. They might get really scared, especially when we talk about these higher level concepts like white privilege and critical race theory and all this stuff. As we talk about these higher level concepts, they can't ever grasp it. So it's really a bad position to be in, because if you don't have the foundation of either human decency or what race actually means in America, then you're easily led in the wrong direction. So how do we teach people the foundations of what race actually means? I don't know. We can't get them in high school. We can't get them anywhere else. So I don't know. The only time everybody gets educated is high school. So if there's no talk about race in there, where do they learn about it from? I guess in the music they listen to. Hopefully they pick up a good Kendrick Lamar record and learn about systemic racism there. But that's far-fetched. So I really don't know what to do about it. Heritage, not hate. True. I need something more fun. Okay, I need videos to react to on YouTube. Somebody send me something. I don't know how to. I don't even know how to explain critical race theory. It's really complicated. I guess the summary is that racist institutions work through. Or wait, no. Institutions and things through law. Wait, let me find the definition. I forget. I shared something about it. Does anybody have a good? Yeah, find me stuff to make YouTube videos about. Leave if you're not dedicated to the cause, okay? Leave. This is going to be really boring as I find stuff to make videos over. Did Joe Rogan say anything dumb? I guess not. Jeff Bezos went into the sky today. Went into space. Amazing. Here, I'll look at Ben Shapiro. See if he put anything up. How do I argue against inflation?
Some people believe
Ben Shapiro makes a lot of videos about inflation. But I don't know how to fire back on it. Because, I mean, demand came back really strong once the economy reopened. A lot of capital started moving. It was expected that we'd have higher prices now. We had a huge surge after COVID. Oh. All right, Ben Shapiro, baby. Taxpayer NPR targets the Daily Wire. NPR isn't taxpayer funded. They aren't. Dude, they're just called NPR. Like, oh my god, they're so dumb. What is this? Neil deGrasse Tyson, thoughts on transgenderism.
The left is militating against the advent of science. One of those areas is the area of transgenderism.
Dude, what do you mean? Militarizing against the advent of science? Dude, it's a literal medical thing going on here. Like, things like gender dysphoria and things like transitioning, making suicide rates drop drastically. These are all things that are happening in the scientific community. Ben Shapiro's understanding of science comes from like a 9th grade biology textbook where it says like very two distinct groups of man and woman for education purposes. If you look up how biology textbooks are made for high schools, a lot about biology isn't exactly 1-in-1. So there isn't any perfect woman. There isn't a perfect man. There isn't a perfect brain structure. There are male and female parts of every single body, whether you are born biologically male or female. But in biology textbooks for high school, they keep it in very clean-cut categories because it's easier to teach. They aren't going to get too complicated in high school. But Ben Shapiro has that little boy high school understanding of like biology. So he literally takes no new data into account, no new findings into account, and he's looking at this with like a 2nd grade level.
The argument that is typically made by gender theorists is that gender is entirely separate from sex. You've seen the argument made that it makes no difference on average.
Gender isn't entirely different from sex. Nobody is saying it's entirely different. They do relate in certain areas, but the idea is that they are independent when it comes to what society puts on two different expectations of how different genders are supposed to act within society. If you are one sex, you are supposed to assume one direct gender. If you are Hulk Hogan, you are required to have the same gender as somebody who is like, who's Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is like a 5'5" weak man compared to Hulk Hogan, but they are both forced to be in the same gender category or whatever. That's what they talk about when it's like independent of you're independent between like sex and gender.
If men are stronger than women are, and that if we were to allow transgender women to compete with non-transgender women, then this would somehow not disadvantage biological women. And this seems to me absolutely ascientific, that if we're actually going to have a discussion about gender and sex, that should be based in data, which suggests that...
Notice how Ben Shapiro said trans women with non-trans women. He didn't say man for the trans women. I'm surprised he did that. Maybe he's making it more like adulterated for Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Animals are, in fact, binary in terms of their sex, unless you have intersex birth defects, typically, or genetic defects.
I'm happy to...
Oh, yeah. Those women from, was it... Africa, somewhere in Africa, I don't know which country it was, but they got disqualified from the Olympics because their testosterone levels were naturally too high. So therefore, the Olympics ruled that they had an unfair advantage compared to the competition because their testosterone levels were high, which is kind of weird, in my opinion, because if you have a naturally high height, for example, in something like the high jump, you have an advantage, or like hurdling. If you're, for example, like a 6'6" woman who is very strong, you are going to hurdle a lot better than a 5'5" woman who has the exact same strength and put the exact same work in. Sports isn't equal. Sports is never going to be equal. There are deviations in everybody's physiological makeup. There are differences in environments and all that stuff. So it's really interesting.
Opine on this. This only matters because today we segregate nearly all sports by gender. Otherwise, why do we even give a shit? What someone identifies with. We live in a free country, and
But Ben Shapiro has other motives for not agreeing with what Neil deGrasse Tyson is about to say. I wonder if Ben Shapiro is going to be real about this, because Ben Shapiro is a very strong, bigoted one here. He does not want to, he doesn't want to be forced by the authoritarian left to call a woman a man or whatever.
Consenting adults and people free expression of who and what they are.
On an adult level, I agree with you. I think it doesn't matter what you teach
That's what I'm
children.
saying. And so there's the matrix.
You're affecting the children's minds.
Of what you are biologically, how you express yourself, who you choose as a sexual partner. If we actually live in a free country, as we tell ourselves, people's freedom to behave in any of those ways should not concern you at all. Nor are
He's not even going scientific into it. He's not talking about anything that has to do with facts here, though. But I mean, I can vibe with what he's saying to an extent. Like, oh, dude, we live in a free country. Let everybody do what they want. Stop being such a stuck-up, Ben.
requiring that you behave that way. Okay,
Well,
this is for their own freedoms because we live in a free country.
But won't Ben Shapiro say, well, they're making me call them by their preferred pronouns, therefore I am oppressed?
Now, what is unresolved here is, what do you do with sports? It's unresolved. And I've followed that closely, and I don't see any...
The perfect sports, if you wanted true competition, you would have people who are born by the same parents, who are the same exact weight. They'd be the same exact height. They'd have the same exact wingspan. They'd have the same exact bone density. They'd eat the exact same food every single day of their lives. They would have the exact same shoes, shirts, socks, pants, headband, gloves. They would have the same everything. They would have the same eye contacts. They would have like the same exact vision. Like if you really wanted fair sports, that is what you would do. I think the most fair sports that we do have would be how they do like wrestling, I guess, like in weight categories or like fighting. 160-pound, you're a lightweight. You're a heavyweight, whatever. If you're like 160 pounds, you wrestle other people who are that size. That's the most specific thing we have for sports. Gender isn't really a good thing to go off of. If your idea of like sports is that they need to be really competitive, and they got to be the exact same age, by the way, if it's going to be competitive.
I don't see any meaningful solutions to come down off of that. We know that hormones manifest differently in different people, and this is the whole thing with steroids. Steroids are hormones, right? And we rallied against steroids in professional sports because it gives you an undue advantage. So I've tried to think of what the future of sports would be in the world of a gender spectrum. And it may be, you don't specify whether it's a male or female sport. You just take measurements of what your hormonal balances are. And so you compete based on your hormones. This is thought I had. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to land.
The
but
WNBA won't be in business for very long if that's the case.
it would just be you'd have to find some way to compete people against each other if you still care that sports is an interesting activity.
I guess the area where it does come up in a non-sports area.
Yeah, tell me. I don't know.
So it would be, you talk in your book about the education of children and teaching children about science. And right now, children are being taught about the quote-unquote gender spectrum, which is not scientifically based. That is a theory-based idea.
No, wait, hold on. People express themselves on a spectrum. So you learn that.
That's a social point, not a scientific point.
It's
meaning we express ourselves
hold on.
based in different languages. Is that something you teach in science class, or is that something that you teach when you're teaching language?
So whether the fact that people want to express themselves,
Even if it's not taught in a laboratory or a science class or whatever, we study social phenomenon. Even with how we do study those things, if we look at different causation factors, like let's say for example, there's a certain category of people who need to wear fuzzy socks, and if this category of people cannot get fuzzy socks, we don't know why, but if this category of people cannot get their fuzzy socks, they all will die. They'll be so depressed they'll have to just kill themselves. But if we do get them fuzzy socks, then they will kill themselves at a lower rate. I don't think a decent person would even ask why or how. And I know this is very unscientific and whatever, but a decent person wouldn't ask why or how. They would say, oh, although I feel uncomfortable with fuzzy socks being worn on a summer day, because that should never be worn. You should never wear fuzzy socks on a summer day. I feel uncomfortable with that. But if it will prevent that person from committing suicide, they can wear fuzzy socks. A decent person would say that's fine. But Ben Shapiro isn't a decent person. So when he hears, like, oh, trans people commit suicide less when they are able to transition, he doesn't really care. He has an image to uphold. I don't think he even truly believes what he says. But, I mean, I don't know. I think he's dominated by other exterior forces, including his belief, his religion.
on a spectrum, on a gender spectrum, whether that fact is something you want to put in a sociology class or in a science class, maybe that remains to be determined. But it is a real fact about real society.
Well, of course, nobody's denying that people identify how they want to identify.
So
the question is, what is the relationship of that to biology? Meaning that the argument is made that trans women are women, for example. And what that seems to mean is that trans women are identical to women. Now, if people want to say trans women are not biological women, obviously that is the case. But people don't seem to want to say it.
And the idea that gender is something that naturally arises isn't true either. If you want to say, like, oh, how does society construct what a boy means or what a girl means? What does a boy do? What does a girl do? That isn't defined by some type of biological characteristic.
That, although that is obviously scientifically true.
But you can say there are certain correlations there, like, oh, men are, if you're biologically born a male, you're going to be stronger. Therefore, men are probably going to do more construction jobs. They're going to pick up heavier objects or whatever. Sure, that'll be something. Maybe women are going to be more motherly and more fragile and more caring. You could say those are going to be correlations. More men are going to be in those jobs and more women are going to be in caretaker jobs and whatever. But that isn't a fact. That isn't like a biological fact of your gender, of what your gender is going to mean. You can be a man, you can be born a male and want to wear a dress and be a femboy or whatever, be a pretty boy. Like all this stuff, you should not be constrained by what society sets, especially when what gender you are able to be is going to cause you to be very depressed. And like I said before, we know that trans people kill themselves less if they are able to transition, and that should be enough. That's usually what I bring up to people. I don't think a lot of the online left understands where a lot of America is with trans issues. When I talk to people and they are uncomfortable with it, I try to just bring up the facts around it. I basically say, like, hey, if they are allowed to transition, and there is science behind it, but if they are allowed to, or if they are able to, then their suicide rate drops less. So less people are going to be dying. Less people will get hurt. Less people are going to be suffering. And usually if I'm talking to a good person, they'll be receptive to that argument. You don't got to get too into your debate, bro, for that one.
Trans women are not biological women. Biological women are biological women.
But where are you going with this? What are you trying to accomplish by asking yourself, Is it science or is it not science? It's people in society.
But this is a perfect example of an area where suddenly it doesn't matter.
Because he wants to not validate. He wants to invalidate it, right?
To say things that are just true. Like, why is it
Nothing is simply just true. Like that. Like I hate when people say that. Holy
bad or
crap.
wrong? To point out.
I have a
Bad or wrong is subjective. Gender is subjective.
another way to approach this. I care what is objectively.
You have to look at the social utility of things too. Social phenomenon, like I said before. And Neil deGrasse is just like, he doesn't expect that Ben Shapiro is going to be this bad of a person.
True in the world as a scientist. But let me not say even as a scientist. I just simply care what is objectively true. And science happens to be a pretty potent path to invoke, to find out what is true. And so if people express themselves on a gender spectrum, and that is an actual thing in an actual society, if we have not fully explained that scientifically, that's an interesting frontier to study. If you want to say it's only sociological.
If you ask how gravity works, you know what they'll say? You know what a lot of scientists will say, or all of them? They'll say, we can't explain exactly why gravity works, but we can explain how it works, and we can have calculations of how it works. Even science, things that we consider scientific facts, there's a reason a lot of these things are called theories, even if they are considered proven fact. Like, what is gravity? How do we measure gravity? We can measure gravity, but we don't know what the hell it is. We don't know. Or electricity. We still don't know a lot of about how electricity actually flows. We know how electricity works. We know how to use gravity. We know how to use electricity. We know the utility of these things, but they aren't understood by humans. But yet we can still map that onto reality of how they work in the real world. And you can do the same thing with gender. Ben Shapiro, I wish Neil deGrasse Tyson, this very smart intellectual scientist man, will bring, I hope he brings up my point about gravity and about electricity and all that stuff. But yeah, Ben Shapiro is missing that idea. Fact isn't going to be like, this is a rock. What is this? Yes, it is a rock. It's not going to, like, that's not how the world works. Like I said before, it's a 5th grade understanding of these issues.
Then it's the purview of the social sciences. I don't care who studies it. It's an interesting fact about society that's worth learning about. To fight someone and say, it's not biological, it's just your this. It's real and it's there. Well, because it's real because it manifests.
But it is real because it manifests. But the question of how to classify manifestation is a scientific question. Meaning that, for example, there's a woman over at Brown University. She came out with this.
Jojo says I'm childish with my Nina Turner analysis. No, I'm actually realistic, and this is proven by people who are actually in politics and who have political power. I cannot stand when people say stuff like that, because I know you have a very childish, immature view of politics if you say that I do, because mine has been battle tested. And it's just annoying when people say that stuff. What I said about Nina Turner is 100% true. She's being hurt because of what she said about Biden. If Nina Turner advocated for progressive issues in the same way that she has been the past 10 years without calling Joe Biden a piece of shit, then she would have a much better chance to win this current race.
Study that suggested that there was a phenomenon called rapid onset gender dysphoria, in which a member of a particular group would suffer from gender dysphoria, and this person's immediate peer group would suddenly have an onset of gender dysphoria. This paper was so controversial that Brown tried to pull it, and then was forced to reassign it later. You see this sort of
That's a different question. What you're asking now is, are there some topics that should not be studied scientifically?
Right.
And is there some taboo? And Sam Harris speaks a lot about this.
Yes.
And I think the concern is, if you study some topic that's a hot button topic and you bring scientific methods and tools to it, we don't trust, I'm interpreting here, I think we as a society don't trust that people in charge in a free country won't try to legislate something that will constrict people's freedoms in the face of that information. I think that's the fear.
Well, isn't that...
It's a fear.
I mean, and isn't that...
We don't trust our own ability to govern ourselves in the face of what could be some information relative to other kinds of information.
Isn't that a bit of a problem?
Yes. Yeah. It's not. It means it's not a free society. It's not a society of free inquiry, which I think you need ultimately. But yeah.
My general take on all of this stuff, from climate change to gender dysphoria to all of these issues, is bring out the science.
Climate change? What?
And then let's hash it out. I think that the problem I'm seeing on a lot of sides
is, what is your motivation?
Why does that matter?
It matters because if you have political power, you could end up creating legislation that subtracts freedoms from people who previously were enjoying the same freedom
Yo, I like it. Keep on putting the pressure on, buddy.
as you. The history of that exercise
Then make a better argument.
doesn't end well.
Well,
Then make a better argument. I can take away your civil rights because you don't make the logical argument that appeals to my lackluster logic. How dare you? Make a better argument.
the history of which exercise? Bring out all the science and let's hash it out.
I'm saying if you bring out all the science and the politicians hash it out,
Ben Shapiro, this is how we measure gravity.
Oh yeah, but can you tell me exactly how gravity works and where it comes from?
No, but we don't know that yet, but we can use gravity effective.
No, but you don't know the actual science. You aren't telling me what gravity.
But no, Ben, listen, we can measure gravity.
No, you can't. You don't have the right arguments. You better make better arguments. Oh, you're a leftist.
the history of that exercise is a recipe for disaster.
But Ben, we can like measure this in a way that is mapping onto the real world. And if we do it this way, it comes out to perfect correctness. And if we do it like, we don't need to know where it comes from as long as we know how to measure it. And, if we know how to use it and how it works. Ben, we don't need,
But you don't have the law. You don't know where it comes from.
dude, I hate it. Dude, oh my God, it hurts. I would kill Ben Shapiro in a debate. I would dominate Ben Shapiro. I will go rap God on Ben Shapiro. And I will not only talk faster, I'll make it all rhyme. It'll be like 8 Mile, and I'll drop the mic at the end. I'll have the whole crowd vibing to the raps.
If it involves discoveries that put people's freedom as defined in our Constitution at risk.
But now you're arguing for limitations on areas of particular study.
No, I'm arguing on we need a way to shield,
I was muted. Well, I guess nobody's going to find out what I just said.
need a way to protect people's freedoms in the face of whatever gets discovered scientifically.
So
I'll give it.
I agree. I think that's what the Constitution is for, is to guard rights from.
But we're always fighting the Constitution.
They are really close to each other. They're pretty intimate. I don't know if I could debate somebody this close. Look at that. Their knees are almost touching. I could feel the tension from here.
People who want rights are always fighting others who are saying they don't get the rights from the Constitution. This is a daily challenge on the progressive left. It is a daily challenge, right? Here's an example. I forgot how I ended up getting this phone call. It was some magazine that serves the gay community. And I remember why, because they wanted my opinion on, they wanted my opinion about whether being gay was biological or
Right, there's that new study that came out, this vast
or
study.
psychological.
Right,
okay?
right.
And I said, I don't care which it is. Find out what it is, fine. But the answer to that question should have no consequence on legislations or laws. Because, for example, suppose it said it's purely biological, okay? Then you say, oh, that explains it. Suppose it says it's purely psychological. What are you going to do now? You say, well, now you're going to go to the reorientation camps or whatever those are called, where they realign you because they say it's psychological rather than biological. All of a sudden, people start behaving in ways in society.
I like what he's saying too, because that means even if there is a faulty study that comes out and says like, oh, being gay is like in your brain, you learned how to be gay, or you are psychologically gay. You're gay by choice. If a faulty study came out and said that, and some Republican wanted to use that to restrict gay rights again, even more than they already are in like red states when it comes to like who businesses are going to be forced to serve. Which, by the way, imagine if they did that with like black people. Like if a business said, instead of like, oh, I can't serve a gay person or a trans person because of my religion, what if they used the old KKK Bible teachings where they said their religion was against black people, and businesses said, I'm sorry, I can't serve black people because my religion says so. At which point do civil rights triumph over religious bigotry? I think that's a really interesting question. But either way, I like his argument because even if a faulty study does come out, civil rights are over everything else. How things map onto reality matters more than any other, like, oh, where is the source of this one phenomenon that's happening in society? And
that
everybody
one-
should be protected, no matter why they are how they are. It shouldn't matter. We live in a free country. Everybody should be equipped to chase what is, ideally, what is going to set them free.
to constrict the freedom of expression of who and what people are. And that is a danger. So maybe there needs to be a line in the sand. Let science do what it does, but politicians keep us free. Yet there's so many politicians that are doing the opposite of that.
So why aren't you a libertarian? I
And
mean,
that scares me.
I'm a libertarian. Come over here. Just
Okay.
He's not a libertarian. Ben Shapiro. Oh my God. Has anybody ever seen Ben Shapiro's videos about trans people or gay people or anything? Holy crap, dude. Either Ben Shapiro puts on a play and he pretends to be a terrible person on his show, or he is just really scared to be a bigot around him, Neil, because, I don't know, he'd feel bad.
the line is right here.
I
Just
believe
join
it.
me over here.
My goodness. Ben Shapiro is
seems like
he's so ready to take away civil rights from people. Like even, oh my goodness, I don't know. This guy, no facts, no logic, terrible,
They say
bad, dumb. I wish I could talk to him. I do feel like he's a lot more reasonable than he sounds in his show. But of course, when you are in independent media, you benefit from being very abrasive and very disagreeable and very inflammatory and causing social division. Ben Shapiro's big thing is causing leftist tears. People need to be fighting for Ben Shapiro to make money. If politics was boring and about facts and logic, Ben Shapiro wouldn't have a job in politics. He'd be a boring conservative radio host somewhere in California because he failed in Hollywood. So he'd be somewhere in California. He wouldn't be this big social media sensation if politics truly was about objective reality and fact. But yeah, I think he's a smart guy, but his media persona is really, really bad. I say the same about Tom McDonald. I think Steven Crowder is a really sad and weak man who isn't really that hateful behind the scenes, but he is beat into submission by his father, who owns him, and his handlers are going to make him go and dance on his show, being their little conservative puppet. I think a lot of these people are different behind the scenes. Candace Owens, though, I think Candace Owens is genuinely a bad person. I think she, I think she's a bad person. Her transition from Democrat student who got like money from a lawsuit based on like a discrimination case to a conservative commentator that like made fun of George Floyd dying, like her transition from one to the other, and now she's selling these what's that one phone called, the Freedom phone? She's selling these gimmicks, these knockoff products now. It's crazy. It's really interesting how a lot of knockoff products are from right-wing commentators. So even comedians and stuff, they will sell like vitamin supplements, or like Alex Jones will sell survival iodine. All these like weird pills that are supposed to make you powerful and make you more protected against like nuclear fallout and weird stuff. Or like the freedom whatever, the freedom phone, the freedom security system. It's really interesting how conservative commentators sell a lot of that stuff and their viewers buy it. Because on the left, with left-wing commentators, number one, I don't see them pushing products that much. But number two, if they do push products, it's something like a book or something else. I never see people on the left selling conspiracy bait, like Freedom Phone or like whatever. I just don't see it. It's interesting how conservative commentators have a different relationship with their audience that lets them get really conspiratorial and sell all these weird supplements and vitamins and all that. Good morning, America. Please drop a like on the stream. Yeah, he failed as a Hollywood writer. I love bringing that up. Who else is good to make videos about? What gets views nowadays on YouTube? Should I do a Tom McDonald reaction really quick? Infrared viral clip? What is that? I feel like PragerU's losing steam. Fewer penalties, more crime. Missouri schools hide critical race theory in curriculum. Critical race theory was never in the curriculum. It hurts. Ugh. BLM supporter red pilled by Cuba statement. Oh, that's an hour long. Exposing Black Lives Matter. Oh no. How can I even react to videos like this? Oh, they found some black people who want to make some money doing interviews.
You know, it's a
Hey, man. I respect the hustle. Make your money. These are all like podcasts. There's the cartoon again. What about Jimmy Dore?
Well, you're just talking like a Mongoloid.
I don't give a fuck. I am a Mongoloid. In my heart, I'm a Mongoloid. That is what I am. We are Ward. That is what we Mongols only.
Well, you're just talking like a. Well, you're just talking like a Mongoloid.
I don't give a.
Hello. 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 Can you hear me now? I think my microphone got unplugged. Hello. Yeah, I had to unplug and plug it back in again. I think it's working now. It's all good? You can hear me? Good? Yes?
I am a Mongoloid.
Well, you're just talking like a Mongoloid.
I don't give a fuck. I am a Mongoloid. In my heart, I'm a Mongoloid. That is what I am. We are Ward. That is what we are. Yes, we are that. We are 100% that.
That's not something to be proud of.
It is something to be proud of, because the Mongols are the ones who created civilization, and you created nothing but barbarism. You're the fucking barbarians. You destroyed the treasures of mankind. The Mongols only united it. What the fuck do you know about civilization? What the fuck do you know about pride? What the fuck do you have to be proud of, except looting, genociding, and destroying the cultures and peoples and wealth of this world? What the fuck do you know, Gans Cuck?
Well, you're the one here chipping out, so.
I am chipping out, bitch, because I'm a fucking human being, and you're a little soy boy cuck, little bitch. You don't know who the fuck I am.
No, I see you. I think you're a Mongoloid. That's what you.
I am a Mongoloid. You're right. It is what I am, and I'm proud of being that.
Well, it's an anthropological term. It doesn't actually
Okay.
mean Mongol.
Oh, so what's your fucking point? You ugly, disgusting, fucking ugly, disgusting, fucking barbarian, smelly piece of shit. You want to talk racism? I can be way more racist than you, Angloid. What fucking civilizations did Angloids ever fucking have? It needed the Romans to fuck all of you in your ass to give you any civilization. You never had any of your own. You want to be racist? I could be way more racist. You want to talk shit about Asians?
He's only 5'9", by the way.
What the fuck do you have on Asia? Huh?
Which isn't bad. 5'9" is respectable, but I thought he was taller.
Huh?
I have nothing on it.
You have nothing, because you're a Can's cuck, bitch.
Isn't it crazy how somebody like him gets platformed by a bunch of big stars? Like, he was on Destiny. Again. Because he was on that one podcast. That was funny. That was so funny. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I died watching that. It was so... Oh, it was hilarious. If you want a good idea about what I was talking about before, about what's not good to do in politics, Jimmy Dore is a good example of how to do bad in politics. You're 5'9". No, it's not. 5'9" is a good height, but it's funny because I thought he was taller. The way he talks, you'd think he would be... Actually, never mind. I support all the... yeah, 5'9" is not even short. That's like normal. Romney sucking up to Trump. White House caught covering for Hunter Biden. It's like a tabloid in a grocery store. Obama knows you're stressed. Caught omitting key facts. The headlines just scream it to me. All right, what other videos do people watch to make content? Let me go look on Vosh. What does he make videos about? Oh, there's that that one. Look at all these videos I watch. Fox. Did Breaking Point say anything dumb? Capitol riot. CNN's embarrassing.
All right, Sagar, what are you looking at?
Well, aside from my own personal biases, one of the reasons that the initial success of this...
Aw. He has biases. Epic battle. What is this? Epic battle
Crystal,
between
what are you
cash
taking
and
a look at
culture
today?
war.
Well, like the stimulus
remaking
checks
American
before them, the
politics.
child tax credit has officially reached meme status.
So I got my first child tax credit payment today, which means the government has officially paid me more child support than my baby daddy ever has.
Okay, a couple people making TikToks of them being happy about this. I don't think that's meme status. I mean, the stimulus checks were like that too. Like, oh, baby, the stimmy just hit. I'm going to go buy something. Or like, oh, that Biden stimmy felt nice, baby. Oh, yes, give me another stimmy. Like, that was all over the place. There was a really funny Joe Biden meme. Oh, my goodness. I have to find it. It was so funny about the stimmies. No, it said Moneybags Joe. It had him like on the cover of a rap song. It's like a album cover artwork, album artwork, and it had Moneybags. It wasn't that funny, but I thought it was funny. Shouldn't people be happy about this though? Because the birth rate is lowering. So you want to incentivize having children. That's one thing the government is supposed to do. Set positive incentives in a market for doing certain things. So if we have a shortage of babies being born, not only do we need people to be more successful, so we need to help financially a lot of mothers, which is a good thing to do. Getting children out of poverty, getting people out of poverty in general, that's a good thing to do. But also, if you want more people to have kids, support mothers, support parents. Make having kids not terrible, because in our country, we don't provide basic necessities like European countries do. America, so rich, so powerful, yet Europe and Canada can provide their people more. Paid family medical leave, health care, daycare, all provide. Oh my goodness, how do they do it? How do they do it if they have less money? I don't understand. How does America do worse? How are we ranked 27th for healthcare in America? I don't understand.
So according to Vox, hashtag child tax credit and hashtag child tax credit 2021, those both went wild on TikTok with tens of millions of views each. As you may know, the child tax credit provides parents with $300 per child under 6 and $250 for kids 6 to 17. So if you've got 3 kids, you could be getting a max benefit of $900 per month, and that is real money. What's more, the credit is not just for low-income families. It starts...
You know what? She is correct. I have nothing to argue with here. That is indeed real money.
Out at $150K for most married parents, which means that some 88% of children in 39 million households are going to benefit. That matters a lot. The fact that comfortably middle-class families will receive the benefit makes it much less likely that it's going to be welfare.
What's her point about culture war, though? Because I know Crystal Ball is a person who believes that she believes basically in the idea that class politics can win everything. So like if there is a candidate that will give people healthcare and a job and money and stimulus and all that stuff, she believes that that candidate will win. So for example, she's wrong because Americans, I bring this up a lot. I talk about this a lot, how culture and social issues, those are things people vote off of. People usually don't vote off of like really factual based economic reasons. They don't vote rationally, typically. So this right here is a good practice run. Like, hey, if Biden gives mothers or, you know, gives families, I'm not going to assume they're all mothers that are getting this, gives mothers and fathers, anybody with kids, if Biden gives them stimulus through the child tax credit, will more of them vote for him? Or will they stay stuck in their like culture and social voting slots?
To death. So knowing all of that, shouldn't be all that surprising that the sudden infusion of cash to millions of moms and dads might provoke a bit of a sensation, especially when you consider that the people who will be helped the most by the money are also the people who have been the most...
objectively is not the number one reason. I can't even debate this with you. It simply isn't true. It's not true by any metric. There is no rhyme or reason to it, like other than social issues. Trump voters did not waver, even with the economy crashing. They voted for him because of social reasons, because of immigration, because when Trump said immigrants are rapists and killers, that's when people came out to vote for him. They didn't come out to vote because of purely economic issues. That may have been an influence. If Hillary Clinton, I said this before, if she was better on economics, if she spoke more to the working man or whatever, working person, not man, because women are better than men. But if she spoke more to class politics, I think she would have beat Donald Trump. But largely, 80% of voters vote off of social and cultural reasons. They vote off of party reasons. They are very partisan or very ideologically driven, not based off economics. A very small number of voters votes based off economics. Maybe in certain elections that'd be enough to swing it, but that's not true about the class thing. Class isn't the number one reason.
Was routinely screwed over by a corporate-run government that consistently protects the interests of the wealthy over the many. What's interesting is that usually on this show, we think about culture and we think about material politics as being totally separate. Here, and also with the stimulus checks, you have a collision of culture with populist economics. The very visible and widespread nature of the program made it into a cultural moment, the type of thing that normal people are talking about in normal settings, not just weirdos like us, and that is actually really powerful. In fact, cash politics as culture could be exactly the thing to combat the shiny objects and sectarian silliness of our typical culture war battles. Democrats are certainly betting on the power of cash. For now, the credit is temporary. Biden's COVID stimulus included just 1 year of funding for it. The proposed reconciliation...
And what I'm saying, I'm not saying that Joe Biden or Democrats can't win elections if they focus more on issues like this. I do agree with you, but if they gave every single Republican in America $1 million today, those Republicans would still vote for Donald Trump. They would still vote Republican because they don't vote based off class issues. They don't vote based off who gives them money. As a whole, as a majority of voters, left and right, vote off of, are you pro-BLM or anti-BLM? Are you pro-immigration or anti-immigration? Are you pro-LGBT or anti-LGBT? Are you pro-religion in our schools or anti-religion in our schools? Are you pro-burning the flag or are you pro... I don't know, putting people who burn the flag in prison? Like, those are the social issues people vote on mostly. What side were you on during the BLM protests? Were you saying all lives matter or BLM? Like, those are the things people vote off of. But in the middle, there are a couple voters who can fall for economic populism if they are truly helped by the government, because people's ideologies aren't really that made up. But largely, culture runs politics. And that's important to remember if you're like a progressive trying to be a centrist in a Democratic primary race, because you need to be able to connect socially to like certain voters. Because if you're gonna go 100% on class issues, you're gonna miss out on getting a majority of a party's vote, because a majority of each party is voting off of social and cultural issues.
Package. They're talking about funding it through 2024, and that date, by the way, not an accident. Effectively, the Biden administration...
That's so smart. Oh my goodness. Good job, Biden. I love it. So yum.
Congressional Democrats, they want to create a kind of household financial cliff for the 2024 general election, forcing...
Republicans want to take away money. We want to give you money. We support the American family. Republicans, they want to just like kill trans, like, dude, come on. They just want to they just don't like BLM. Like, come on, dude. They're focused on a bunch of these culture issues. We're going to give you we're going to slip you a couple 20s. All right. If you have kids, we're going to support you. Don't worry. We're going to support you. They're going to be over there yelling about some immigration. We don't got to worry about that. It's just me and you. If you hang out with me, you're going to be funded. Just know that, baby.
Republicans to either back making the tax credit permanent or get hit over the head repeatedly with the fact that they plan to take money out of the pockets of 39 million households, just as Biden is running for re-election. So cement and endorse a big Biden win or take an extraordinarily unpopular position. That's going to be the choice offered to Republicans. As one Dem strategist told the Daily Beast, I can all but guarantee you Democrats are going to tattoo it to their...
Xander Hall blocked me for saying he wasn't canceled for debating Lauren Southern. Oh my goodness. Oh no. I mean, he should have been canceled because he did terrible and made her look great. I mean, but he lost. He took a big L. He went into a bad situation and made it worse. But I mean, I don't think anybody canceled him for talking to her.
Foreheads, and not to do it would be criminal. So a sort of natural experiment is being set up. We know Republicans are going to run on being a bulwark against critical race theory, cancel culture, and cultural liberalism in general. They
Yes.
might dust off the old Tea Party era anti-deficit rhetoric too, but clearly the energy in the party at the grassroots level is pure culture war. And I mean,
Yes, it is.
or otherwise, but these cultural freakouts, they're pretty powerful. When
She's catching on. I like it. I like seeing the progression. There's a good character progression here. She is catching on.
politics has not worked for a long time to actually improve material well-being, it collapses down to culture war. Which team pisses off the people I hate the most? Who can at least yell into the void in a way that I find satisfying rather than enraging? But I do think that Republicans forgot one important lesson from their near miss back in 2020. A lot has been made of Latino voters in particular shifting to the GOP. Puzzled journalists took themselves down to the Rio Grande
Oh
Valley.
my goodness. Economics isn't number one. If 80% of voters, okay, so if 20% of voters vote off economic issues, and that's enough to swing an election, that doesn't mean economic issues were the number one reason people voted how they did. Even if they say it was for economics or healthcare or something like that, people are mostly partisan. They choose a side. They already know who they're going to vote for the next 10 elections. Most people are like that. I'm not. Even the numbers you sent me said that. I don't know what you're talking about.
To find out what exactly was going on there. And one of the answers that they got was pretty straightforward. Residents got a stimulus check with Trump's name on it, and that seemed pretty good to them. One former mayor told the Wall Street Journal that after the stimulus checks, he started to see memes of Latinos
Papa Trump
holding out their hands to Papa Trump for money. If we speak in the language of memes, he said, there were a lot of Trump as his fatherly figure who was going to help you. Not only that, Pelosi and the Democrats, they may well have been punished by voters for playing games
That's
with...
all you gotta be. You don't gotta be angry at people. When they say Joe Biden is doing bad as president, just be chill with it. Like, dude, literally Republicans right now are concerned about putting cameras in bathrooms and having genital inspections for trans people, and having cameras in school buildings and banning the teaching of like the Civil War and banning MLK speeches. All you gotta say is they're doing that. Meanwhile, Democrats are trying to build our roads back up. Democrats are trying to give us union jobs. Democrats are helping our families, are helping bring children out of poverty. Democrats are focusing on health care. Democrats are focusing on all these real issues. And guess what? They are libertarians socially. Who cares who you decide to be with or who you decide to be? Who cares? We want to help families, give you health care, and let you live your lives.
Stimulus checks leading up to the election, something we talked about a lot at the time. And McConnell and the Senate Republicans may well have been punished by voters in Georgia for blocking another round of checks. These are all budding signs that cash politics could truly reign supreme. One hallmark of the neoliberal era has been making government policy as Byzantine and non-obvious as possible. Everything's means tested, everything's loaded down with paperwork, and just frankly really confusing. Technocrats loved to create these programs and benefits that you didn't even really know you were receiving. Obamacare is a pretty good example of that. A whole lot of people benefit from the program without having any idea that they're actually benefiting from the program. So even when the government might actually be doing something for you, it can be kind of hard to tell or extremely onerous in order to claim that benefit. Checks are the polar opposite of that. They are in your face to the point of being a cultural sensation. And maybe, just maybe, fighting culture war with cash culture war is exactly the way out of an endless...
See, even Crystal here, her evaluation here is really progressed from her a year ago. She is saying we need culture behind it. Money alone isn't going to do it. If we just help people through money and we don't let them know we are doing it through like a cultural reinforcement, it's not going to benefit us politically. We need to make sure people know we are the reason they are getting money. We are the people that are going to be providing for American families. So she's understanding that now, which is nice to see. It's a great improvement from before. It seems that she has lost hope in the 100% class politics works for everything angle, because that isn't true. It hasn't been true. Even looking at the biggest shift in political ideas after the civil rights movement, when we had the big Southern strategy and the parties flipped, that had no other reason other than social issues. If you really think about it, it was white Southerners went Republican because they were the anti-black party after the civil rights movement, and then the pro-freedom party went to those voters went to the Democratic Party back then. They weren't doing it for economic reasons. Black voters didn't go Democrat for economic reasons. And white voters down south didn't go for Republicans for economic reasons. There is a deeper, more complex thing happening. And that caused such a major shift in politics in America in general that class issues could never. No class issue has ever made political ideologies move that far in one way or the other. No matter if the economy is doing good or bad, people's social positions are going to be relatively where they already are. Unless if you have complete social degradation, but that's a totally different conversation. All right, thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna go hop off now. I'm gonna start doing this more. I'll be back one of these days. Tomorrow maybe. I got a couple things I could put up as videos right now. I might record some videos off of offline for the other channel, some news stories. So please check that out if I do it. Anyways, good night, y'all. Maybe I'll get on and play some Rocket League then, but nobody likes that anyway. I'm a champion 1 in Rocket League now. It's a higher rank. Wait, maybe Nacho's on. If he's on, maybe I'll play with him. Let me see. 1 second, let me check something. American Nacho. No, he's not on. All right, good night.